Let's just start with a hard truth, shall we? So much of today's marketing is built on a massive strategic failure. It's this collective hallucination that just pumping huge amounts of volume into your system is the key to growth. We all celebrate those dashboards, right? The ones showing traffic at an all-time high, believing that if we can just pour enough people into the top of a funnel, profit will, magically appear at the bottom. But honestly, that's a dangerous myth. It's what we call the volume illusion. So, the real question is, how do we break free from it?
What you see on the screen right now, that's the central idea for this entire explainer, the Reach Hallucination. It's this deep-seated belief that more is always better, but neurologically, and way more importantly, economically, cheap traffic is the single most expensive mistake your brand can make. And look, this isn't just some clever saying. It's a cold, hard, algorithmic reality that has completely reshaped digital advertising. The very strategy you think is helping you scale, it's probably the anchor that's holding your business down. So to really unpack this, we're going to move through 6 key areas. First, we'll properly define the volume illusion and the algorithmic crisis that kind of created it. Then we'll introduce the solution, something called the resonance binary sieve. After that, we'll explore the psychology that makes it so ridiculously effective, show you exactly how to build it, and then we'll finish up with a whole new philosophy, growth with integrity.
Okay, let's dive into the core problem, the volume illusion. It's all built on a paradox that, trust me, trips up even the most seasoned marketers. Here it is. In modern advertising, the easier you make it for someone to click your ad, the harder it becomes to actually generate a profit from that click.
This should probably look pretty familiar. It represents the dashboard of so many companies right now. You see that traffic bar? It's a beautiful hockey stick curve, the kind of thing that gets celebrated in meetings. But then you look over at the revenue bar, and it's flat. This isn't a sign of growth. It's a signal of a critical system failure. What you're doing is successfully buying attention, but you are completely failing to buy intent. And in today's economy, intent is the only currency that really matters. Let's just be really blunt about what's happening here. You think you're building a sales pipeline, but what you're actually creating is a digital junk drawer. It's that CRM just clogged with thousands of low-quality, zero-intent leads that your sales team has to waste precious time sifting through. And this isn't just wasteful, it's actively harmful. Every single time a person who will never ever buy from you clicks an ad, they don't just cost you money. They corrupt your data and they train the ad platform's AI to find more people just like them. People with endless curiosity and absolutely zero budget.
Look, this requires a complete paradigm shift. The old way was all about attracting everyone with the super wide net, just hoping for maximum clicks. And that always leads to high volume and really low quality. The new way, the necessary way, is about sifting. The goal isn't maximum clicks, it's maximum intent. The method isn't a wide net, it's a series of smart gates. The result? Yeah, it's lower volume, but it's a volume of incredibly high purity. To grow today, you have to stop attracting and start sifting.
So how did we even get here? This problem didn't just pop up overnight. It was born from a specific event that we can literally pinpoint on a timeline, the Algorithmic Crisis. And to understand this crisis, we've got to look at a specific moment in time when everything, and I mean everything, changed for digital advertising. Before 2021, we were all living in the era of magnetic hooks. The goal was simple: get users at any cost. But around 2021, the AI-driving platforms like Meta and Google, it became too smart for our own good. It figured out it could drop your cost per click to just pennies by finding this massive, untapped audience that loves to click on stuff but never ever buys. That was the algorithmic crisis, and in its wake, we've entered the era of smart gates, where the only real path to profit is focusing on efficiency and lead purity. This brings us to the villain of our story, the clickers. This is that segment of internet users who are driven purely by curiosity, not commercial intent. They have no budget, no plan to buy, nothing. They're the audience the algorithms found back in 2021. And by clicking your ads, they poisoned the data, basically telling the AI, hey, this is a great customer. Go find 1 million more just like them. They are the source of that vampire traffic that drains marketing budgets for absolutely zero return. This all leads us to the single most important mindset shift you have to make. Are you ready? The goal of your ad is no longer to get a click. The goal of your ad is to talk the wrong people out of clicking. It's a complete inversion of everything we've ever been taught. Your ad copy, your creative, it all has to be designed not as a magnet but as a filter. It must actively repel the clickers.
So if the goal is to repel the wrong people, how do you do that systematically? You can't just guess. You need an engine designed for this exact purpose. And that engine is called the resonance binary sieve. This is the core mechanism, the actual solution to the problem.
The resonance binary sieve is an architecture that completely replaces that wide-mouthed funnel we're all used to. Instead, it creates a series of deliberate, sequential filters. Think of it less like a fishing net and more like a series of locks in a canal, where only the right ships can even pass through. Each filter is designed to test for one thing and one thing only: intent. And only the highest intent prospects are allowed to pass from one layer to the next.
Let's break down how these three filters work in order. First up, the linguistic filter. You use industry-specific jargon not to sound smart, but as a gate. If you're selling, say, B2B logistics software, your ad might mention LTL freight optimization or API integration for TMS platforms. A casual browser just scrolls right past, but your ideal customer, they stop and read. Second, the economic filter. You mentioned the price early. This anchors the value and it repels all the freebie seekers. And third, the friction filter. You require small micro-commitments, like answering one simple question to prove their intent is actually real. Now, this system isn't static, it's dynamic. The process is called intent hardening. When your analytics start showing vampire signals, audience segments that click a lot but never convert, you don't just turn them off, you harden the gate. You add another qualification question, you make the friction just a tiny bit higher for everyone. This creates a self-reinforcing loop where your system actively learns to purify its own lead flow, and it gets more and more efficient over time.
So we have the mechanism, but why does this work so well? Why does making things harder actually lead to better, more profitable customers? The answer is rooted in some pretty deep human psychology. This isn't just an algorithmic trick, it's a behavioral one.
The first principle is something called cognitive dissonance. We are all hardwired to justify our own effort. When we work for something, we automatically place a higher value on it. By making a prospect work even just a little bit to get through your gate, you're not blocking them, you're validating them. The moment they pass that little test, their brain does something incredible. It deactivates their natural skepticism. They've earned their way in, so they unconsciously decide that whatever's inside must be valuable.
And the second principle is the IKEA effect. You know how we value that wobbly bookshelf more because we built it ourselves? The exact same thing happens here. When a prospect answers a question, when they tell you their company size, their industry, their biggest challenge, they are investing. They feel like they've co-built the solution right alongside you. They've already started to shape the outcome, and because of that, they place a disproportionately high value on seeing it through to the end.
This slide just captures that transformation perfectly. A prospect who clicks an easy, low-friction ad is an outsider. Their mindset is that of a skeptical browser. Their value perception is low, and the relationship is purely transactional. But a prospect who passes through your filters, they become an insider. Their mindset is validated and invested. They perceive a higher value in your offer. It's like a halo effect, and the relationship immediately shifts to an earned partnership. They're not just a lead anymore, they're a pre-qualified partner.
Okay, so we've got the theory and the psychology down. Let's move to practical application. How do you actually build this thing? This is the blueprint, a clear framework that you can start to implement.
There are 4 core steps here. 1. Architect for high-friction qualification. You have to end all one-click lead forms, period. Instead, ask the single most defining question about your ideal customer. This acts as your main gate. 2. Engineer price transparency. Don't hide the cost. State it early to anchor expectations and repel those who can't or won't invest. 3. Automate the vampire purge. You connect your CRM data to your ad platforms, and you create exclusion audiences of everyone who clicked but didn't convert. You're actively telling the AI who not to target. And 4. Measure purity velocity. This is your new North Star metric. Stop obsessing over lead volume and instead track how fast a pure lead moves from that first contact to a sales qualified meeting. That is the true measure of efficiency.
Ultimately, this whole framework is about an identity shift. You stop being a beggar for attention, desperate for any click you can possibly get. Instead, you become the bouncer for your ecosystem, selective and confident about who you allow inside. You stop spending money to attract, and you start investing in a system to filter. You stop chasing vanity metrics and start cultivating valuable, long-term relationships.
This brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this entire puzzle. This isn't just a strategy for efficiency, it's really a philosophy for how to grow a business with integrity in the modern world.
And this all leads us to the core insight of this entire philosophy. The best marketing doesn't push people through a funnel. It doesn't use tricks or coercive tactics. It pulls them toward value. By being specific, by being transparent, and by respecting your prospects time enough to disqualify them early, you build trust. The filter itself becomes a powerful signal of the quality that lies just behind it.
So, what's the ultimate takeaway here?
It's that growth isn't linear, it's learned. It's not about just pouring more fuel on a fire. It's about building a smarter, more efficient engine. It's about creating a system that learns, that adapts, and that improves by focusing relentlessly on purity, not volume. You see, when you stop chasing everyone, you finally create the space for the right ones to find you.